everyone. My name is Arturo Lyon, and I will be presenting this project together with Danilo Martic. This project it's called Nueva Alameda Providencia, and it's the result of a public competition that was launched last year. The submission that was the winner of this competition and announced last October. And it's really an interesting and important project for us for different reasons. The first of them is that this project is we could even say like a key step in Santiago, because Santiago is a very large city with 6 million people living in it. And it's subdivided in 34 different councils, each one of them with an independent administration. And this project is one of the first efforts that was launched by the regional government in order to develop this 12 kilometers long project that will go across 4 different councils. And it will affect and transform the main street of Santiago, evolving really key elements of public space and the transport system of the city. If we compare the scale of this, of the frame where the project is, it would go from Lower Manhattan up to the north of the Central Park. This space called Alameda in the western part, and in the eastern part it's called Providencia, concentrates many different activities. It's, as I said before, it's really important in terms of transport. It's the kind of main spine of the metropolitan transport system, which moves almost 3 million persons every day. And it also congregates different spaces for public manifestations, for art, and also for recreation. It has been the scenario for huge celebrations and huge protests like the students in the year 2011 with great political consequences, or the winning of the Copa America, and also different spectacles of art. So working on this area is extremely complex, and so instead of trying to create a kind of design or to think of a possible scenography for this street, we thought that it was really important to understand which were the systems that were combined here and layered in this space, and the only way to look into that was to kind of look back into, not as a historians but as an architects, on how this different system have been overlapped over time and have been kind of crystallized in the current situation. So first, the Spanish grid started deployed in the foundational part of Santiago until it reached the river Mapocho and the Cañada, that is the stream going at the lower part of the image, and was this kind of border of the city that didn't have any identity yet. And then at that time, Bernardo Higgins did this sketch with his vision for the Cañada at that time, and it was really interesting. It's a really interesting sketch because it's almost precarious, let's say, but it combines like the key elements that you can still see today in the street. It has the trees, the water canals, and the transport streets at the sides. And in the center, it kind of creates this void for monuments and for people to go there and to hang around, right? So this sketch becomes reality in the plans of 1836. You see it already in Santiago's maps. And then in 54, you see the Claudio Gai's map as well, how it becomes already part of the city, an integral part of the city. And it creates this really magnificent public space you could call it a kind of multi-programmatic ground at the center of the city, which has these huge lines of trees that even hides the city behind, and it creates some monuments in different spots that congregate people, and in this what was called by O'Higgins Campo de Libertades Civiles. So then over time it starts to consolidate the different monuments and the irrigation canals and the trees. And by the end of at the beginning of the 20th century, it's already kind of in the center of the city. And it's interesting to look that this space was not only public space, but also a main line for infrastructure. And both were combined, in which then resulted in this kind of image that is quite fantastic, or splendid, as it's stated in this article, where all the infrastructure goes there. It's really it has a lot of use for transport, but at the same time it creates this amazing public space. Then over time it starts to incorporate more transport, right? As you see here, 3 or 4 lines for cars and tram, and it still has a very good definition of the public space in the center. Then in the 50s, cars start to take over. This is the Barrio Cívico in front of the House of Government, which is taken by the cars. And then the construction of the metro in the 70s, it's done by this huge excavation. All the soil was taken out, the trees removed, and it had to be rethought then for the next years. So now we have this red line in the middle of the map, that is line 1 of the metro, that's running all along this corridor of Alameda and Providencia, and it's a very complex and precise system of transport, and most of the buses go through this place, and it has this kind of incredibly detailed layers of information and of different buses. This is one day last year. On the yellow is where the people take the transport system, and the green where they come out, all along one day. So in this system, any kind of small failure it would create agglomerations, discontent from people, even protests. So you can see this day, for example, is one day where there was a broken down in the metro. You can see how the people cannot take the sidewalks that are already really small. You can see all the space that is taken by the cars, and all the absolute collapse in the bus stops. And it creates even this press attention and the questioning of all the institutions of the city, right? Now the city of Santiago planned for Alameda and Providencia a new corridor for buses to be built in the next years, and this type of corridors have been done in other parts of the city. And this is one of the images that you get from one of those corridors. They are called BRT, Bus Rapid Transport, and you could describe it as a kind of engineering, very specific solution for transport. But they take out all the other layers that are part of the city, right? So it's completely kind of against the sketch by O'Higgins, where in a very simple and precarious way he combines all the different elements. But this is kind of only with one single view on the city. So this was a great step forward in the calling for the competition of such a corridor, where the design teams of architects, landscape architects, and transport engineers were called for giving views and ideas for this corridor.
What we tried to do here with our proposal was to position landscape as the structural design element at the urban scale. sort of like an art of activation that drives and organizes flows through this axis, giving place to new territorial combinations and possibilities, and sort of mixing together, all the considerations that were present already in O'Higgins's sketch for the promenade. The project then proposes sort of a design capable of articulating the requirements of an efficient transportation system, which is what you're seeing here, while reconceiving the space that's fundamental for the civic life of Santiago, recovering, as I was saying, the spirit of the Alameda as conceived by O'Higgins. In this sense, then, the project is more about recovery in terms of history, infrastructure, and architecture, landscape in the end. As an opportunity, we proposed a green infrastructure of 6,000 new trees, Quercus falcata, oak trees, that would complement the rows already existing groups of Chilean palms. That's a national monument, the tree itself, that will be highlighting a series of notable places along the axis. The true project, though, in terms of a green infrastructure, is the proposal to recycle a number of existing quarries dispersed throughout Santiago as street nurseries that should be able to supply this project and hopefully others with the required amount of.
So here you can see the plan in the center, and it's surrounded by two diagrams. One that has the water strategy for the water, and in the lower part the strategy for the transport, and both are combined along the streets. In the project itself, we propose two different urban conditions or atmospheres. One of them is this kind of canopy, a covered boulevard with shadow and lots of trees for the main part of the street, and then where there are monuments or very specific parts that need a different treatment, then there are no more trees. We have the palms, and we have some water features and fountains that kind of open the space for the views and also refresh it with the water. Here you see, for example, the central station, one of the main train stations of Santiago, and where is the origin of the old Alameda. As we go through as well, we thought of in each part of the street to organize the flows according to the pre-existing trees. Here you see the Baquedano Square, where all the celebrations are developed.
The images now illustrate sort of 4 or 5 different profiles that we designed for different parts of this axis, going from west to east. From the poorest parts of the Alameda, we have a place called Las Rejas. You can see here basically a summary of the elements that we're using to structure the axis: the trees, the bus stops, which are in orange here, and basically shading structure, and the ground, the different qualities and manifestations of the ground as a solid yet permeable surface. You can see that what we're doing basically is we're moving the public transport, the buses, to the center of the Alameda, which is now vastly underused, thus opening up for new space along the edges, which would allow us to expand the sidewalks and the pedestrian surface adjacent to the buildings from 1.2 meters in some areas to at least 5 meters as an average along the corridor. We propose a number, as Arturo was saying, of structures. This would be a node in Pajaritos, which is the beginning of the project. This would be phase 1. And then moving towards west, we can see, different views that we're proposing for this place. This is the bus stop, interpreted in this project as a shading structure that will blend with the landscape created by these newly planted trees. Water fountains and Chilean palms in front of, relevant buildings, open esplanades in Estación Central and in Baquedano, with a water feature also. A place that can hold huge amounts of people, in case there's another protest or another Copa America win. The view in Providencia, where we're proposing to move the buses, take them out of Providencia and put them all in Nueva Providencia, in both ways, thus transforming Providencia in a almost pedestrian boulevard. And finally, Tobalaba, which would be the end of our axis.
This project, to close up, it was developed by Danilo and Alejandra and Alejandra Bosch, and Danilo, Alfredo Ramirez and Clara Loris, and also with the collaboration of Bemas B Arquitectos here in Santiago. And IDOM, they are doing all the engineering and the transport by Sergio Chiqueto and Steer Davis and Lee. Thank you very much.